What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Talkin Horror Special Episode 4. I am here with Michael Myers Reacts as always, and today we're actually going to be discussing Damien Leone's modern-day slasher film Terrifier, which was released in 2016, and it's available on Netflix. So if you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. So yeah, man, give me your first initial thoughts on Terrifier and what you thought of it.
When I first seen Terrifier, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I ran into the trailer on YouTube, and I knew it was about this killer clown, obviously. And the trailer hooked me, and I was like, I have to see this. And then, of course, I had Netflix, and I realized it was on Netflix. And the first time I watched it, my mind was blown because I was expecting it to be something that maybe didn't take itself serious, but this is actually a pretty serious modern day horror slasher film. I mean, there's not much to the film, but there's a lot to the film at the same time. Great kills in it. Damien Leone did amazing. David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown, amazing. And, we got to acknowledge that there was practical effects used in a modern day slasher, which is good because there's, nowadays with horror movies, it's just CGI and CGI. I'm all about the practical effects. So, I was happy with that. But the movie really blew my mind. I was like, this movie is way better than I thought it was going to be. It's definitely something everyone should watch.
I wholeheartedly agree, man. Like, this whole movie has a very, old school slasher feel to it. And it comes mostly through the gore, Like you said, the effects are all very practical. And while a lot of them are wonderfully, low budget, most of them look fantastic, and it's some of the best gore I've seen since the Saw films.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing, too, I could be wrong, but I believe Damien Leone also did the effects.
I believe so, too. I heard that somewhere.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, the kills are very, very brutal, and it includes one of the single most horrible deaths I've ever seen in a horror movie, which includes the scene with Dawn hanging upside down, and it involves a rusty hacksaw. I'm not going to say much more, but you guys get the picture. But Terrifier is not for the faint of heart, but if you love Gorefest, this is definitely one checking out.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. This film is definitely not for everyone. There are people who are going to find this movie, super disturbing, and people who may even be offended by this movie, especially, females, because of the death of Dawn, which is really, really graphic. I mean, if you can't handle stuff like that, it's graphic. The way she dies, I'm not going to say it on here because there's just no need to say it. Just go watch the movie. But the way she dies is just so horrific.
Yeah, and also with, modern day PC culture, especially with 2016 with the election and all that. I'm not even going to get into that, but it was just very surprising to see this type of film actually make it to Netflix.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of, yes and no, because Netflix shows some really, risky stuff as it is. But I don't know. I guess I could see it more of going to a streaming service than a theater. Because I don't think this would have done super well in the theater because slashers aren't as big as they were in the 80s. And I don't think anyone's really going to care about some unknown clown killer film anymore. They're not into that stuff. Halloween does well because it's Halloween, obviously. So I think Netflix was a good home for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. When I initially saw the trailer for Terrifier, I presumed that it was going to be either a straight to DVD type of thing or it was going to be part of a streaming service. I didn't expect it to go straight to Netflix, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe the second one is going to go to Netflix as well. And, that's great because at least it's out there. If it went straight, the movies that go straight to DVD and Blu-ray, that's just a blind buy. You really don't know what you're getting. If you watch something on a streaming service, you could watch it, see if you like it, and then be like, oh, well, I might purchase this. So I think that it having a Netflix release, if you will, is a good thing because it gives you a chance to watch the movie with any horror movie. It gives you the chance to watch it and then see if you want to purchase it. Because just imagine if Terrifier just went straight to Blu-ray and DVD. I think it would be a very unknown hidden horror gem.
I agree, man. And before we actually started this podcast, we were talking about how I actually watched it with a couple of casual friends, and they seemed to really enjoy it. They were freaked out by it, but it's something that they really enjoyed because it was readily available to them. They really got to understand the characters well, and it's a Netflix film, so I think that's really really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, it's a very simple and like it's a very simple film, but it's a very effective film. Um, and with it being on Netflix, it makes it a lot easier for people to actually watch it because people who have Netflix are going to see it's like, oh well, cool, I'll see what this is about.
I
So I'm glad it got that attention.
mhm.
But this is what I got to say about Art the Clown. This is kind of off. Well, it's not really off topic, but this is what I got to say about Art the Clown. I feel like Art the Clown is our modern day upcoming horror icon. I think after the second movie comes out, and who knows if we'll get a third movie, or however long this franchise goes, at some point, I think Art the Clown is going to be a horror icon, maybe 20, 30 years from now or longer.
I absolutely agree, man. And like you touched on before with Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton's performance, he's just incredible. Like he is a mix of a terrifying, unstoppable killer, kind of in the vein by Michael Myers, um, and also the personality of Freddy Krueger, all without saying a word. You know, Art says all he needs to with his facial expressions, basically, and his mime-like stature, and his makeup and design are fantastic. But Thornton really sells the character as one of the most terrifying, psychotic clowns to ever grace our screens. And quite honestly, I'd rather take on Pennywise than Art the Clown, if I'm honest.
Yeah, for sure. I have a few things to say about that. Actually, you know, David Howard Thornton, since we brought him up, he's actually a really cool guy. I've actually talked to him on Instagram
Oh,
once
really?
after I brought the Blu-ray, and he's a really awesome guy. I mean, he tries to get back to every fan that gets in touch with him. And another thing, when you brought up like the Michael Myers thing, there are things in Terrifier that really remind me of Halloween. If there's a scene where Tara is in that, they call it like the creepy building or whatever with the janitor guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where Tara is hiding behind the cars, and when Art the Clown scrapes the knife on the window of a car.
Right.
If you listen closely, the theme kind of resembles the Halloween theme. Like every time I hear it, I just think of Halloween. I'm like, that must be, kind of a callback to Halloween. And another thing too, I think even Halloween 2018 may have been a little bit inspired by Terrifier, because we all know that the pizza guy in Terrifier basically gets his face carved like a pumpkin, and then what happens in Halloween 2018 with the cop? You know what I mean?
Very good point. And also, when Sartain got killed too, right? With Michael?
Yep.
With the face stomp, that was definitely influenced by
Yes,
Terrifier.
for sure. So, that just shows you right there on how much, how big Terrifier is. It's a little, low budget horror film, but it's also a really big film at the same time. I mean, it's inspiring Halloween. I would say it inspired. I could be wrong, but it definitely gives me the Terrifier vibe when I see that stuff in Halloween 2018.
Yeah, I definitely say that too. And also, I noticed this film doesn't typically have like a plot, but it has a nice story, if that makes sense. The first half of this film is perfectly paced. It's a bit of a slow build as we see, Tara and Dawn interact with Art for the first few times for the movie to explode into insanity. And even if this film was just the first half, it would probably be one of the best horror short films I've ever seen because I really love the first half. It just has so much atmosphere and suspense.
Yeah, I know that Art the Clown did start out in like a short film type style with All Hallows Eve,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing with, if I had to summarize Terrifier, if someone came up to me and said, summarize Terrifier, like what kind of movie is it? I would basically just call it a survival horror movie. These characters are basically just trying to survive. We know nothing about Art the Clown. We don't know what it is. I'm going to say it because obviously he's immortal because he shoots himself and he's still alive, and and then he starts eating Victoria's face, which is, I mean, I guess you could say it's cannibalism if he's a human, but I don't think he's a human because he shoots himself in the face and, in the head, and he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way he's a human.
Definitely
so
supernatural.
That's the mystery of Art. But yeah, like, who knows what he is? But that's the beauty of Art the Clown.
Yeah, I'd also like to touch up on something else. I just wanted to ask you personally, what is your thoughts on the second half of the film? You know, like when Victoria shows up.
I like it, but I like the first half better,
I
in
do
my
too.
opinion. I like the whole thing with Tara and Dawn. They're great characters, and Dawn's hot. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
But
know.
yeah, that first half is really good. But the second half is good too. I don't hate it. It's just it kind of tricks us as an audience. I mean, we think Tara is going to be the final girl throughout the whole movie, and obviously that doesn't happen. But I mean, I guess you could. Well, Victoria is our final girl because she does live.
Hmm.
But I don't even know if I would consider. I mean, it's kind of like they both share the movie. It's like Tara's got the first half, and then Victoria's got the second. It's kind of like two movies in one, like two short films put into one big movie. Is how I feel about it.
Yeah, I definitely say Tara is the star of the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
if we're talking about Victoria, um, she's kind of in that realm too, I guess, but she's more along the lines of a final girl, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It kind of feels like two films in one. I mean, because after Tara dies, it's like, okay, well, here's where the first part ends, and then part two, we're gonna have Victoria come in. Even though it's one movie, it just feels like that.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I didn't hate the second half, but honestly, I thought it lost a lot of energy when Victoria shows up. She just simply isn't an interesting character. But then again, she was only there to pick up Tara and Dawn, so there wasn't much they could really do with her, I guess. So I guess we just didn't get to know
Mm-hmm.
her a lot. Um, but yeah, again, like the movie loses a lot of momentum at the halfway point, and it's a bit of a slog to get to the end, if that makes sense. You know, the runtime of Terrifier is what, like 85 minutes? And even that feels a little too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the movie. I think Damien Leone could have stretched out the first half of the movie a little longer and maybe ended it with Tara dying instead of having. Well, maybe have Victoria show up, but at the very end, don't have her show up for because once she shows up, there's still a good 25 minutes left of the movie or more. Art the Clown doesn't slow down. I mean, Art the Clown is terrific throughout the entire film. It's just when you get to her, I kind of feel like as an audience, we don't really care about Victoria as much as we did Tara. Because when Tara died, obviously, with her getting shot, which was a big twist in of itself. But when Victoria gets there, it's kind of like, okay, we don't care about this chick. She's just picking up her sister. We know what's going to happen. Art the Clown tells her to come around back. We know she's going to die, and there's no connection with her. She's just here to pick up Tara. Tara, we had a connection with, so that's why it was a little more effective.
Yeah, Tara, like we got to know her due to the like severity of everything that was going on. Like you could tell that she was like really traumatized because it feels like there's um like a ghost hidden at every corner, you know? Because she always senses that like Art the Clown is nearby.
Yeah, for sure. Like you were just more connected with Tara than Victoria. When Victoria got there, it was just like, okay, well, she's here to die. We already know she's going to die, even though she didn't. I know
Mm-hmm.
she didn't, but us as an audience, when you first watch, it's like, okay, well, this is just another body count. She's just going to die. I think she might. I think she might have a bigger role in the second one because I do think she's going to come back since she didn't die. I think she'll have some sort of role in it. I don't know if it'll be huge, but she'll be
Yeah.
coming back. But I don't know. Maybe in the second one, I'll gain more respect for her character. But who knows?
Hmm. Also, a few of the supporting actors aren't great either. You know, there are a couple of like few line deliveries and reactions that are just straight up cringeworthy. But again, it's not like the worst acting I've ever seen. But an example of this would be the janitor that worked in that creepy
Yeah, I
building.
was about to say that.
He just wasn't good.
Yeah, I agree. That scene where, he's trying to save Victoria to get to his truck and he's on the phone with the police or whatever, that is so bad. Like, I'm
Hmm.
watching his acting and he's like, she's bleeding out everywhere. I'm like, come on, dude, this is just not believable at all.
Yeah, but like as far as the rest of the cast goes, I mean they were okay. I think Victoria was okay. I think Tara was actually one of the better actors, I'd say,
Yeah.
in the film. Let's talk about Dawn for a minute. What do you think about Dawn's character?
I like her character because she's like the believable friend. I mean, I feel like everyone has that, friend like that who just doesn't care about anything, that thinks they're all good,
Hmm.
nothing's going to happen to them. Her character was believable too. The two best characters is Tara and Dawn to me. Those are the two characters that really hold up the film, other than Art the Clown, because I really enjoy their characters.
I agree. I feel like Dawn is kind of an annoying character, but that's what her character is supposed to be, I'm assuming, you know. I get that
Yeah.
she's drunk, but she's almost naive to the point of absurdity. Like, it gets really frustrating to watch Tara make all these fair points about Art and how nervous she is about him, only to watch Dawn not take the situation seriously and completely invalidates her feelings, you know? I mean, if you think about it, Dawn's actually kind of a garbage friend. You know, all she really cared about with her was
Mhm.
her Instagram likes.
Yeah, exactly. But like I was saying, I mean, we all have a friend like that. You know, there's a friend who just thinks, "Oh, well, this is nothing. Nothing can happen to me. I'm too cool for this. Nothing's gonna happen." And then you got, well, see, it works both ways. You know, some of us are Terras where we get paranoid about stuff, and then some of us are Dons who just don't care about anything. That's just who her character was. And you know, Catherine, the actress who played Dawn, she pulled off that character. She really
I
did.
think, yeah, I'm not saying like, anything bad about the acting ability. Like, she was a great actress. I'm just saying, like, as far as her character goes, she wasn't like a great friend to Tara, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, she really wasn't. I mean, she should have listened to her more. She didn't really listen to her as much. Like, she was joking around because Tara, that one scene always makes me laugh when, you know, Tara's like, you know, he could be watching us right now. And she's like, show me your tits. That always cracks me up, man.
Yeah. Also, another problem I had with the movie is that there are a ton of frustrating character decisions. I mean, there were way too many moments where one of the characters manages to injure Art by either stabbing him or knocking him out, but then the character just gets up and runs away. It's like, seriously, double tap. Like, once you get the killer on the ground, just take them out. Um,
Yeah.
if that happened just once, I could probably get over it, but it happened like 4 different times. It was incredibly frustrating, and it made the movie a little less enjoyable than it should have been. I still enjoyed the movie, but an example of this is when Tara is assaulting Art with the 2x4. You remember this scene?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's just constantly yelling at him to just get up when she could just easily finish him off.
Yeah, exactly. If I was in that position, I would just be bashing brains in.
Yeah, same here, man.
Another thing too, I noticed with, you know, okay, when Art was, you know, stabbing Tara's lower leg or her Achilles, whatever it was,
Hmm.
there was one mishap I seen because when she first gets away or whatever, and she runs up those stairs, she's walking fine. She gets up and walks away after she's hiding behind that
That's true.
toolbox or whatever. She walks away fine, and then when it cuts to her going up the stairs, then she's limping. I'm thinking you should be limping instantly. Your leg is screwed.
That's a good catch, man. Like, I somehow remember that now as soon as you described it, but when I watched it
Yeah, she
initially, I
just
didn't
gets up like
realize.
it's nothing.
Yeah. Also, what would be your particular favorite scene in this whole film, if you had to pick one?
Ooh, okay, that's a hard one. There's a lot of good. Okay, my favorite scene is the whole pizza scene, the pizza place
Mine
scene,
too.
because it's super intense. Because you know he comes in there and then he's doing all these faces, and then when Don looks at him, he's normal. And then when the pizza guy's like, "Hey, buddy, what do you want?" And he just doesn't say anything. It's super intense. It's freaky. It's like, what is this guy doing? Well, I don't even know if you can call him a guy, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, what is this person doing? What is this? That it's just so uncomfortable.
Exactly, man. It's very, very uncomfortable. And again, it's also my favorite scene. I just love how Art is across the table from them, making these creepy gestures and weird facial expressions. Um, and it's just so unnerving for whatever reason, especially when he
Oh
walked over
yeah.
to Tara and put the ring on her finger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole scene just gets under your skin pretty much. What do you think of the whole pistol surprise thing?
Oh wow! At the very end.
Yeah, like when he shoots Tara,
Oh, when he
like the
shoots
pistol.
Tara, that was actually surprising because he kind of broke the traditional killer trope by just shooting. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting that.
yeah. Well, a lot of people were talking about that when this movie first came out. They were like, "Oh, it's a slasher movie. You shouldn't be using no gun or anything like that." I think it works for Terrifier because this is an original film. This isn't like a franchise that's been it would be different if you are like, let's say, the Friday the 13th franchise. It would be different if you gave Jason a pistol now. That would make no sense at all.
Right.
See, Art the Clown is this new character that's open for anything. This movie, Damien Leone could have done anything with Art the Clown because this is the first movie. So the pistol thing was a shocker to me because obviously when you're watching this, you're like, oh, this is a slasher movie. But then when he pulls the pistol out, I was shocked, but I wasn't mad about it. I know there were some fans that were actually kind of mad about him using a pistol.
No, I for sure wasn't mad because he's a new original slasher. I mean, all the
Yeah,
stakes are up. I mean, why wouldn't he have a gun?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he could. Damien Leone could have done anything he wanted with Art. He could have gave him a rocket launcher. I don't know. That might be going overboard, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, not only was like that scene creepy, and this scene you described prior, but also when Art got kicked out of the pizza shop, and then he throws the bag. He's like, "Get the hell out of here!" And then you could see Art's like shocked and angry face as he's outside. That was really really creepy to see.
Yeah, and then he waves at Tara and just walks out of frame. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and also another scene that completely shocked me is how Art completely desecrated the bathroom with feces.
Yeah, that was disgusting. And he literally
Oh
wrote
my
Art on
god.
the wall or whatever.
That is what I got to say about this film. It's a good film, but it's very unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that scene was just flat out disgusting. There's
Yeah,
no other
this
way of
movie,
putting it.
it is very disgusting. This movie is not for everyone. Like, it's not, to me, even if you are a hardcore horror fan, I think some horror fans would be still very disturbed by this movie.
Yeah, like all around, like I enjoyed Art a lot. Art the Clown. His
Mm-hmm.
whole character felt different from most of the other killer clowns that we've seen. Traditional slasher movies. It felt like there was actually a human psycho under that mask. The way he
Yeah.
interacted with the two main girls, and also like you brought up before, how he broke the typical slasher mo when he used the gun, which I
Yeah.
actually thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Also, another thing, what did you think about the creepy lady that lived in the rat infested building?
Oh yeah, with the doll Emily or whatever.
Yeah,
I think her character was kind of definitely a side character. I mean, I felt like she was just kind of thrown in it to have just another character and another body count because obviously we know what Art does to her, which is also very disgusting. He literally cuts off her whole front torso.
right.
Nasty. But yeah, she was just there for another body count to me.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was basically to say how like she wasn't really needed in this film, but I feel like she was only in the movie just to show Art's unpredictability. I actually like the scene where she is asking him basically to show mercy and give her baby back, which of course is just a toy doll. But he refuses at first, but then she asks him if he's ever felt a mother's touch, and when she touches
Yeah.
his face, he starts to act like a baby and suck his thumb and all that. Very bizarre stuff, but I liked how it was executed.
Yeah, that whole scene was just him messing with her mind. He was like, "You're such an idiot."
Yeah. Like overall, like you said before, I felt like the only reason the crazy woman was in this film was to lead up to the fact that Art was eventually going to kill her and wear her breasts, I guess, as a shock factor
Yeah,
for the audience.
yeah. This movie, the word for this movie is unpredictable. That's definitely the word for the movie.
Yeah, and another thing I actually really liked about this movie was the ending. I liked how they kind of imply that Art is supernatural by choking the doctor in the morgue.
Yeah,
Even though the scene right before that he shot himself in the mouth, but in the morgue, we can see the lights flickering, which demonstrates
yeah,
a supernatural force. And I really like this touch. I love how Tara's sister Victoria actually turned out to be the severely deformed survival girl in the beginning.
yeah, yeah. I like that too. It kind of brings it all. It brings it all full circle because if there wasn't going to be a sequel, then there really isn't a need for a sequel because the movie is full circle to me. But I'm glad they're making a sequel. Obviously, Art has to be supernatural. I mean, he shot himself in the head, and we're getting the sequel, so obviously Art isn't done. So it, as an audience, it makes us wonder what is Art the Clown.
Mm-hmm. Like overall, Terrifier is a bit of a throwback horror movie in terms of style, and I love it for that. I think the killer is
Mm-hmm.
amazing, and the gore is some of the best I've ever seen. The first half of the movie is simply incredible. The second act
Yeah.
kind of affects the pacing a little bit, and the acting isn't great. Some of the characters are kind of bland. And again, like I mentioned before, there's some incredibly frustrating character decisions, but ultimately, I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out as well. Just go into it expecting a crazy ride, though. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't seen this, expect a lot of gore and some really disturbing stuff. Like, that's really all I can say to somebody who like hasn't seen the film. Another thing too, how you were talking about how the film feels like a throwback. It feels like it could have came out in the 80s to me.
Yeah, definitely, man. I could see that too. I feel like Tara's character and Art the Clown really make the movie what it is. It's a solid low budget flick. I think the first act is great. The second act is kind of slow, and the third act is incredible, and it's a perfect way to end it.
Yeah, the movie overall for me is a 10 out of 10. It's a great modern day original slasher film.
Yeah, man, I agree. So, that is going to conclude the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Is there anything else you want to add, real quick, before we end it here?
The only thing I want to say is if you haven't seen Terrifier, just check it out. Like we can't stress that enough because it is just such a good horror movie. It's so fun.
It's
Just
a
go check
fun
it out if
ride,
you haven't seen it.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys, so that is going to conclude the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next Talkin' Horror special on my channel and the regular Talkin' Horror on his channel. And yeah, we should be back real soon. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you later with some more videos.